Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. I'm Oge and you are watching About the Book and Stuff, a place where we freely talk about books and other interesting topics however we want. Guys, as you have probably seen from the title of the video, I will be telling you guys how I ended up studying English literature at the university and why it was the best mistake I ever made. So so this is going to be a story time, and if you're interested in knowing, my story, I hope that you watch this video to the very end. It's a very interesting one anyway, so now, for this story to make any kind of sense, I have to start from the very beginning, and that is going back to 2012 when I graduated secondary school, or high school as you may call it. Back in 2012, I graduated secondary school, and I did not write JAM the very first year I graduated. And it was that period while I was waiting for 2013 to roll by that I ended up learning how to make hair. And today, I am a professional hairstylist, which is really cool. When 2013 rolled by, I took my very first JAM exam and I passed. I did pass, and I'd always wanted to study law, so I applied for law. I took all the necessary courses and it was really cool. I was really excited about it. But after the JAM exams, even though I passed, I had, a little challenge because it was that period that my dad died. My dad died in 2013, and you need to understand something about my household. Even though we are a very close-knit family, we have a lot of love for each other. We are very close. We talk almost every time. There are just some things that some people prefer that others do not. And in my family, since I always wanted to study law, I've always, been talking about, I want to be a lawyer. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And my mom had never, ever been a fan of me being a lawyer. She absolutely despised lawyers. I have no idea why. And my dad was like the only person in the house that was telling me, you can do whatever you want to do. You can, if you want to be a lawyer, of course you can be a lawyer. And guys, you need to understand that I had a very close relationship with my dad, and when he died, I just knew that my whole dream of becoming a lawyer was probably never going to come to pass. And this is why, like I said, my mom absolutely detested lawyers, and there was no way she was going to pay for me to study law, even though that was what I wanted. This is Nigeria. You kind of have to do what your parents tell you to do at that age. And we weren't ready financially and emotionally to, send me to the university to study law. One, because studying law is kind of expensive. You have to buy the books, you have to pay like the fees and whatnot, and we're also preparing for burial. And if you're Nigerian, you also know that Igbo burials can be like the worst. They can be so freaking expensive. And we had all of those things to deal with. So I just knew that studying law was going to be a challenge. Now, after thinking for several days, I on my own decided to change my course from law to anything else. At that time, I couldn't care less what the course was as long as it got me into university, because in my head, I was planning to change my course back to law once I figure out how to do that without causing my mom so much grief. I just wanted to study and be in a university and figure out what to do from there. So there was no point putting in too much thought into it. And we were grieving at the time. We were preparing to bury my dad. So I did not realize that the combination I had picked was wrong for mass communication, because you needed, was it economics or something? One course like that I did not have in my JAM combination. So that was a wrong combination. And I only realized this after my dad's burial, when we came back and I was trying to prepare for post-UME, and I just picked up my form and I was like, what the hell did I do? Like I was like, oh my God, I messed up. And at the time it was already too late, because the window or the time that was set aside to, change your course if you wanted to had elapsed. So I didn't know what to do, so I had to wait until the time for post-UME. I was like, let's just see. And, I went to a cafe and I, tried to figure out what to do. They were like, just register for the post-UME. It's not going to be a big deal. Let's see. Maybe you would write, maybe you would not write. So I was like, okay. So I paid, which I shouldn't have if I had any sense at all. Anyways, I did pay for my post-UME, but when I went to print my slip out, I just realized that I couldn't write the exam. When I got back home, I was really upset. I I knew I wanted to go to school, and I knew that I didn't want to spend the next year sitting at home. At the time, my boyfriend told me to, get FCE form, that's Federal College of Education, and my mom, my sisters, everybody were like, just try it out and see. And when I did, I got admission into the college to study English Igbo, and I absolutely hated the course because it just did not make any sense to me why you'd be studying English and Igbo at the same time. I mean, for somebody that wanted to study law, I just hated the whole idea of it. But because I am such a freak when it comes to making sure I do my best at everything I put my mind to, I smashed it. Like, when the first semester results came out, I smashed that. Like, I passed so well. Like, in English, I think in English I had a 5.0. In Igbo, I had a 5.0. Even though I was horrible at Igbo, I couldn't speak it fluently. And, my classmates at the time were making fun of me. But I made them to shut up and drive because I passed so well. I was like, really, really good. While I was studying English language at the college, I kind of fell in love with it. So I bought another JAM form and I applied to study English language, and I gained admission to study English language at Ahmadu Bello University. Now, during the course of our registration, after getting your admission letter and whatnot, you're supposed to be on a queue to get your registration number. While I was on the queue, I didn't know that there was anything like English language and English literature because I just thought everything was together like it was at the college. But I was wrong. I didn't know that. It was almost my turn when I heard a few girls talking behind me that, asking each other, do you want to study language or literature? And I didn't even know that the line I was on was for language. When they were talking, I just knew in my head that I do not want to study English language if literature was an option, because I obviously love to read books already. So what's the point of studying language, even though I was kind of good at it? So I had to make like a split second decision because there was this one person in front of me. It was almost my turn. And while I was still thinking, the person got attended to and he had to move. And it was my turn. Before I knew what was happening, I was giving her my admission letter and she was writing English and she wrote English language on it. And I was like, no, but that's not what I want to do. Like, I do not want to do that. And I had to tell her, I was like, I don't want to study English language. She was like, oh, okay, so what do you want to study? I said, literature. She was like, no, but this is the cue for language. I said, I do not want to study language. I thought wrong. And she was like, but I've already written language on your admission letter and I cannot cancel it. I was like, but I do not want to study language. And she was like, oh, okay. She just cancelled it and passed my my admission letter to the person giving the red number for literature. And when it happened, I was like, oh, thank God. I didn't think that it was going to happen because I thought like, oh my God, I was going to be miserable but then she was really nice and she helped me. And that was how I ended up studying English literature at the university. Now, even though my whole plan was to, study whatever course I was giving for like a couple of years and then, switch to law when I could afford it, I found myself falling in love with the whole idea of studying literature. I was in 200 level and I remember telling myself that what's the point? Like, there's every possibility that I may not like law as much as I like this course I'm doing right now. So there's no point changing. That's what I told myself anyways. And I think now in hindsight, it was like the best decision I ever made because now I find out that I have more depth to me. I probably would have felt happy studying law, but I doubt it because I honestly doubt it because I also found out that I am horrible at cramming anything. I love the freedom that literature gives you. You can freestyle. You can talk about a piece of literature the way it appeals to you, the way you understand it, and it just makes a lot of sense to me because I like that part of myself. And I found out that I am way more inclined to talk about things based on how I perceive them than, what the general public would think. And I thought that it was just a perfect marriage for me. Like, myself and literature were just so compatible that I did not want to risk going back to law and hating it. And this is how I ended up studying literature and loving it. And I think it is the best decision I ever made in my entire life.